Turn on this light.
Okay.
Unless this bothers anyone.
Okay, welcome to the July 30th Sewer Commission meeting. And in accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised this meeting is being recorded and broadcast over public access. First, we have a few announcements. One is that there are now 2 vacancies on the Sewer Commission. Joe Anderson resigned several weeks ago, and we did vote to ask the selectmen to fill that position. And then I will be resigning effective August 14th. And I guess we'll be voting later in the meeting whether we want to officially ask the selectmen to post that. But that has to come later in the meeting because we have to vote on it. So I guess I would request that if there's anyone out there, we have what, 840 plus sewer users?
Yep.
So I would ask that a few of those 840 consider filling out a talent bank form with the selectmen to work on the sewer commission. It's been an interesting 4 years, and I think it's a worthwhile commission and a position. Another announcement is that the annual grease trap permit renewal process, we've sent out this month, the letters. So get them into the sewer office by August 15th with your completed permit application and annual fee to ensure compliance with the grease trap regulations for the coming year. And final announcement is change into the irrigation meter policy to go into effect August 1st, 2019. We'll be sending out our current irrigation customers a package of information in the coming weeks. You must comply with the changes by June 2020 to remain on the irrigation meter credit program. Until the information is generally available, call the sewer office and they'll put you in touch with the supplier, or contact your plumber, as a plumber permit will be required to get the necessary sign-offs by the town plumbing inspector. And we'll be announcing this periodically on the public meetings to make sure everyone is aware. For those who don't know, the irrigation meter, if you use a lot of outdoor water, you can have a separate meter for your outdoor water, and that water usage is subtracted from the sewer bill. Any other announcements?
Public, no public comment?
Well, I guess we have
wait
to
for
wait
that.
until after the appointments, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
Darn.
Okay, we have 3 appointments tonight. First one is Bill Hannigan from Hannigan Engineering to talk about 189 Crossroads.
Basile, maybe. Jim Basile, too. Nope.
They want to stay back there.
Yeah, I get too close.
Once again, Bill Hannigan for the record, Hannigan Engineering. We're here to talk about the process, which we understand relative to the change in sewer map requires town meeting vote.
Right.
But we didn't want to start going down that road until we had a discussion with the commission relative to what's going on with the Millet's property, and bringing them into the fold and using, having their guidance on how we should proceed relative to both design, permitting, and eventually hoping to be able to pull this piece of property into the sewer district. It's a small scale, but there's your sewer map, and I've highlighted the parcel of land
Thank you.
that we're talking about relative to investment. So the property is at 189 Crossroad, and prior to the sewer being in the area back in 2007, they had done, 2006 and 2007, significant amounts of testing on the property. I'll leave this copy with you as well. But as you can see, the site, this is really the lot here. Crossroad is right here. Their driveway actually comes across the abutters property onto their property from Crossroad down this area here. the overall parcels in this area here, but they were testing in this area, and they ended up having, prior to them buying the house, they ended up having to put a tight tank in on the property. Since that time, the sewer has been brought into the area, and interestingly enough, it stops on either side of their property. There's one or two other, there's one or two other pieces that,
I also have this.
there's one or two other pieces, but the sewer, this is their piece of land here, okay? This is their existing house. This is all by Mass GIS right now. We have done some survey work in the area for other projects, so we did have a location, the sewer line down at Cross and on Pine, and then Lakeview is here. So they literally have sewer here and here, but no access because these parcels of land are not within the district.
Right.
Okay? So what they're looking to do is primarily get off of the tight tank. Secondarily, they would like to be able to build a new house for themselves. Now, this is kind of, they've outgrown this house, obviously, with family being gone. It's really just them at this point. Build a new house here, and then kind of have another lot to be able to sell off, kind of to pay for all of this expense that goes along with it. I know that there's concern, whenever you come in with sewer, there's a concern about what are you going to do, how much development, are you going to put in a 40B? We don't want to open ourselves up to that level of development within the town that's not favorable. This is a nice area by Whalen Lake. They have told me, and they can speak for themselves regarding that, their desire is not to put in 25 or 30 houses. It's really to be able to get their existing house off of a tight tank to make it, quite frankly, saleable, marketable, to be able to sell the house and then be able to build another house. So the concept that we're throwing out on the table basically is to kind of show how that would be accomplished. Existing house, new house, and then that would be it. Whether we brought the force main up to the property this direction, they do have an access easement down here that they could tie into the sewer line down in this area. How that would be done, we'd have to work that out, do design work, talk with Jack about what he wants to do and how he wants to maintain things, etc., to make sure that the system will function and continues to function. So that's really what we're here for, to kind of get guidance from your commission, as well as hopefully gain your support when this gets petitioned to go to town meeting, or hopefully gets put on the warrant. Still not clear on exactly who has to put it on the warrant, whether we can put it on the warrant or the commission puts it on the warrant, or if we could do it jointly, that would be better. So we're here really just to kind of introduce what we're trying to accomplish, seek feedback, and see how everyone feels about this.
The first drawing you had, these are previous perk tests, right?
Yeah, these are the tests that they've done. 2001, 2006, over 30, all the way through to 101, over 140, over 90, over 90. They had one perk for 4, that was at 4 minutes an inch. That's 96 feet. So that would be, yeah. So,
What's that? I'm not familiar with the numbers. What is the range? What's
failure
considered
is
a-
30. Failure was 30 at the time, it's now at 60. Okay, but they don't have the depth of the soil testing on it too, but well, they do it here. So they did have refusal in most locations, 39 inches, 42 inches, 39, 40, 39. So these would all not pass. So those are in the 901 series.
Can you explain this map to me? This doesn't look like the whole piece of property.
It is. This is the whole piece of property.
This
Right,
thing over here.
so their house is approximately in this location here, and the testing area that they've done is in this area here.
What's the acreage?
13 and a half.
And what about this area over here?
To the best of my knowledge, there's no testing been done in that area there. But they would rather not have to do a septic system to get off the tight tank. DEP wouldn't have allowed them to go on it, and those other rules may be, DEP doesn't let you go on a tight tank unless it's absolutely no alternative. So I'm sure that there may have been other testing that was done at the time, I don't know. But in order for you to get a tight tank, that's the last resort.
Have you talked to the Board of Health about this at all since?
I have not personally talked.
Well, not you personally,
No, but I know that the Millettes have, and they actually, rather than be on sewer, than on a tight tank.
Thank you.
So that's the message I got. I also did talk to Jack Rodkins about this, and he felt that it was a good idea. I know that that's somewhat hearsay, but asking that right now. But
Question.
the idea of it, quite frankly, makes more sense to do sewer for these 3 lots than it would to try to build massive septic systems that really aren't going to do any more to protect the groundwater. In fact, maybe even less than them being on sewer.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's a whole different debate.
yeah.
So, but can you, because I'm still trying to understand where the tests are, can you show me on this map where where those tests were?
Those tests are basically in this area here, and this front part of the lot. So this is,
Okay.
this line here is kind of that line right there.
And this, as I recall, this is fairly steep over here. Is it more flat back there?
I don't have much information on the topo, but this does not look flat to me. Just a small area that they did do topo in. They did this topo just to put the tight tank in.
Where's the house on that?
This is the house.
Here, thank you.
Okay. And this is the house. So the tight tank's right about in this area here.
So the sewer is really across the street now.
The sewer is at the intersection here, so we would either just bring it down to a point, or sometimes there is an advantage to at least providing a connection for cleanup purposes with maybe a double valve within this one with these E1 systems. We would work with FR Mahoney to come up with that plan. But right now, what we're trying to do is, we'd love you to tell us to go ahead and get all the details taken care of, and we can go from there, but we really would rather not spend the money on the hard engineering till we knew we at least had reasonable support. And then I know that you just announced that you're not going to be here. So,
It's someone else will.
yes, so we don't even mind limiting the sewer flow from this property to 3-4 bedroom houses, that type of a thing. There's no objection to that. I think that safeguards both the commission and the town relative to what would go here eventually. And it's really just meant to allow them to sell the house, which is very difficult with a tight tank.
Yes.
Build a new house.
So, the first question that has to be answered, that we've been consistent with,
Yep.
and hopefully will remain consistent, is to prove that that property, the entire property, that there's no place on that property that will support a septic, including innovative alternative septics. So until that's proven to the satisfaction of the commission.
Board of Health?
Commission, this commission.
Okay.
Because we're the ones who have to,
Right.
that you're looking to support. I mean, maybe
Yes,
back to your
it
other
would be
question.
up
You
to
can
the Board
always,
of Health.
you can always go to town meeting without us. So to answer your earlier question, any citizen can create a warrant article. So that could happen. Just to answer the previous question, it's not, not recommending it, but I'm just trying to answer your previous question. For us to go forward with it, which is what the Sewer Commission historically does, is to bring it to town meeting. Not the applicant, but the Sewer Commission on behalf of, clearly not driven by the applicant, brings it to town meeting. We need to be able to say straight up that that lot will not support a septic, including innovative alternative.
Yeah, the innovative alternative has nothing to do with this because the perk rates are driving it. You can't do an innovative alternative system with a failed perk rate. So it's doesn't matter whether it's a conventional system, it could be a treatment plant, and you still couldn't do it because of the fact that all the perks that have done on this property have failed. Except
But
for
the whole
one.
property hasn't been tested.
I would say, I don't know that. The
I
evidence
can
I
show you
have,
a
the
picture.
evidence I have is no.
Yeah. So, and I don't expect an answer tonight, but if there's more evidence, then we need that.
All flat areas were tested. Jim Griffey was there, I stayed there for the couple days, it took 2 days.
Just state your name, just for the
Oh,
record.
Bruce
Yep.
Millett,
thank
yeah.
Thank you, Bruce.
Crossroad.
Yeah, how long ago? That was 2001?
2007 is
2007.
when the system was put in, or yeah, thereabouts. It's the ad book for 2007 when that was right. And you've been in the house since.
We were there prior to that. The family has lived there ever.
Okay.
Yeah, the family, Pam grew up there.
Okay, so it's.
So it's an existing,
All right.
yeah. And
I apologize. I thought it was done for the McLeods, and then I thought they sold it to the Millettes, but apparently.
well, it's inherited.
All right,
They
so
have passed
it
away.
is a familiar transaction. So,
So personally, as a particular member, I would need to be convinced that every effort has been made to find a spot that would be able to put a system in. That's what we've done before, and that would need to be documented and, you know.
You don't have the number of holes that we've done?
yeah, I have right here. Yeah. Sorry. So
Well-
what Mr. Luck is saying is that this part of the property has not been tested, but I'm not familiar with that. Is that all slope?
That
or
is
ledge, or-
beyond reach. It's hundreds of feet away, on a hill, down a ravine. It's like, it's not a practical, physically to approach that part of the property. The flat land is the land we tested. And then the topography changes in the front, of course, and it changes in the back that you're referring to. So that dog leg down there is not a practical area. Hard to walk on because of its steep. We're on the top of the hill, so the topography is where we tested. Jim Gariffi was there, and we tried every possible area that was possibly useful, from the street area close to a crossroad to all the practical flat areas. And he just knew that the soil in this land has a history of being full of clay. You put your 5 gallons in, come back in a few weeks, you still got 4.95. And it was his feeling at the time, because we were in contact with the state, literally. He was constantly speaking to the state, what do we do, what do we do? So we kept going, more holes. And the conclusion after having done them all was the tight tank. So Jim, from day one, from the time we did the testing in 2005 or 6, it was in 6, he's wanted us to get onto the sewer, if there ever should be one, and Jack Rodikins felt the same way. So is there any other flat spots to work on?
Well, I
mean,
don't
were
know
there.
that flat spot is a requirement. I have a septic system that's on a hill.
Well, I think the severity of the hill also has to be.
Yes, yeah, that's
considered,
what I'm sitting here, I can't.
You can't tell
I
by
really
looking at
can't
the
tell
size
much
of it.
anything.
Yeah.
Right, so I'm going to pull up Mass GIS.
Because I'm not even seeing the topography of the whole land. It would have been nice to have a print that was the whole property with the topography.
And what we're trying to do is spend the Millet's money wisely, and us going out and do a full topographic survey of the property is not, I don't feel is warranted at this point in time. I'm hoping that I can bring up the Mass GIS map on my phone, and then we could take a look at it with at least the contour information from Mass GIS, which will be helpful. Won't tell us all the answers, but
Well, that aside, I guess I would like to have a conversation with Jim, give him a current, well, I guess this is the current from 2007. Just have a conversation with him about the property.
Yeah, get that information. But that's one of the pieces. Right.
right. In
I
part
might
of-
want to. I might want to suggest that we get. you know, our CWMP was done by Wright Pierce, and they looked at all of the soils, and they didn't identify this as a needs area.
Right.
So maybe one of the things we do is have them come back in and look at that specific lot, look at the soils, you know, and if they came back and said, yep, nothing you can do, then that's one check.
Okay.
The other piece, just to, because this is good, to have this discussion so you see where all the potential hurdles are or what has to be addressed. The other piece that concerns me is from a precedent point of view, because as you said before, one of the reasons that we've restricted the sewer service area was, and the way some of these lines are drawn, was it's well known and proven that sewer encourages development. The piece that adds to my concern here, if it was a single lot and, you know, you could find a place that'd be great, is the plan to subdivide it.
Well, like I said,
So that's sort of exactly contrary to the reason we've done this, is to try to, you know, not enable development.
Well, so I was involved with the very first part of the sewer project, okay, from,
When it was put in, you mean down in 2000, single digits?
yeah, 99 in that whole area for the whole Route 13, not so much Walmart stuff, but the stuff that went into Leominster.
Right.
And although there was a lot of need at the time for those types of homes, existing units and existing businesses that needed sewer in order to continue their functionality, I don't recall the intent of the sewer project to limit development. I thought the zoning was really there to limit development, and the availability of sewer was to really take a look at what's the highest and best use of the land relative to those aspects of it. I'm not going to argue with what you're saying.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're correct.
But I don't think that was the intent of, you don't bring in sewer to use it as a zoning obstacle, okay? So, that being said, they're clearly on a tight tank, and as I said before, and I'm sure that Jim Griffey will back me on this, that the DEP does not let you put a tight tank in without an absolute, there's no place else to go. So I really would respectfully request that you take the information that we have. We can have Jim chime in. I think it would be wise for this commission to have Jim chime in on that, because I think that's your, you have to do your job, as a commission. I absolutely get that and respect that. But to make them go back out and start testing in ravines that are 40 or 50 feet side slopes, just to say, yeah, it doesn't perk here either, when DEP wouldn't have let them do this if it wasn't.
So clearly, DEP was convinced. So provide us the same information that convinced DEP.
It's right here. Okay. And I'm sure that there's other stuff. This
Is there any there must be communication or something between Jim and DEP?
Yeah.
I mean, DEP, I can't believe that DEP would look at this map with just a few over here and no test anywhere else and be convinced. If that's the case, then...
They would have had to have the support of the Board of Health, which would probably have relied on the agent to basically state, yeah, we've pretty much tested everywhere that we think is feasible on the property, and...
That's all I'm looking for. I'm looking for sufficient documentation.
I think that makes sense for you to get that, okay? So...
Yes,
No,
it's a requirement.
So, in other words, I want to be clear on what we're going to do to try to accomplish that. In other words, I don't want to go back to Jim and pull all of the information relative to the history of the project and all the paperwork and come back to the commission and say, okay, here's what we have. And I don't want you to then say to me, well, why didn't you do any testing? I want to be clear about what my approach is going to be for the next step. So my next step, which I think makes sense, is to basically convince the commission that the work that was done in order to put the tight tank in was essentially the same thing you're asking for, but maybe at a different level.
Exactly.
Okay? We get to that point, and I think that then from there we can start talking about how and what we're going to do with the rest of it. I think that's fair. Okay? So we have our.
And I'd
direction.
like to go back because we're on TV and hopefully there's some people out there who are going to volunteer for sewer commission.
You'll volunteer for sewer if he gets in the district.
Yeah. But I want to bring you up to date because things happened since the system went in.
Yep.
In 2005, they were about to go into the phase 2 of sewering the town. And the town stood up and said, we don't want the town sewered. We'd rather spend a lot of money, $400,000, to find out what parts of town absolutely need sewer so that we can support our residents and not sewer the other parts. So that exercise was done, the sewer service area was defined. The whole reason was the concern over rampant development. And and I'm sure Barb would share our policy on development with you, which is that the Sewer Commission has a formal policy on development, which is that we will not enable it or stop it with sewers. Okay? This could fall into the category of enabling. So I just want to make sure that anybody out there didn't stop where, in the history where you stopped.
No.
That there was no
I
concern over
involved-
development.
I was also involved with that second phase,
Okay.
and so I do recall that because we ended up having to go out and they ended up doing new pump stations to do different areas, exactly. Yeah. We were more the survey engineer consultant where I think it was, what was Stan? His name, I'm talking about. He's Gerton Elkin. Stan Elkin. Yeah, they're the ones that did the work, and we worked doing work for them. So
I think we have at least the next step.
yeah, that's what we're looking for.
Guarantees coming out of that next step.
Right.
We could still, look for, some engineering input.
And I think the why did this happen and how did it happen is what you're looking for to basically say, they went through everything they need to go through to get a tight tank's last resort, so we get it now. That's what we want to, then from there, we'll go to the next step of what do we do.
Yeah, I guess I'm just asking what you said that the state was convinced of, that there is no other way than a tight tank or sewer.
Okay.
And then we at least we crossed that hurdle once we get that done.
Sounds good. Thank you very much for your time.
There. Thank you.
All right, the next appointment is Scott Maderos from Woodard and Curran. Scott and guest.
Lauren Hurdle, if you read your
All right.
proposal, Lauren is
Good to meet you.
very valuable
Lauren?
to the conversation.
Lauren.
Yeah.
So we're happy to be able to come and talk with you.
We're very happy to have your quote, so thank you very much. Appreciate your work.
Okay, we've had this package, reviewed it. We're, I guess, a little, not set back, but it's a lot of money. So we just wanted to make sure that we really understand what it is you're going to be doing. And as you went through, did you see anything that we asked for that you might steer us away from because it might not have a lot of value? Or even if you can think of something, we need to focus more time on within this that would be of good value?
So I think you guys spent a lot of time putting your document together,
Right.
and it came and it was close to going, and then it didn't go, and you made some revisions, and we had the opportunity to
Right.
sit with a handful of consultants and chat about sort of where you are and what your challenges are in terms of synthesizing the data that you already have.
Right.
Making some decisions in the evaluation process. So when you finally issued it, it was what I think was fairly comprehensive in terms of what you were trying to achieve. If you took a look at our sample document. If you got to the back, we did something fairly similar for a slightly larger community
Right.
in Andover, but I think it was thorough. We don't know 100% because we didn't get into your GIS data, so we have a lot of time in GIS. We don't know what the status of your GIS data is. So if your data is better, our number is different.
Right.
There's some field work, probably, I don't know, $9,000 or $10,000 worth of supplemental field work that is in there because we thought it sort of had to be able to be thorough. We don't know whether that's necessary or not necessary. So there's a few things in there that, you know, based on, we assume that the GIS data would take us a bunch of time, that it might not.
Right.
You know, and there's a handful of things there. Otherwise, we tried to be reasonable in our estimate of time that it would take to dive into the data and to correlate it and to synthesize all the reports. You have a bunch of information and a bunch of work that you've done. So processing all of that data up and getting into the weeds, if you will, to give you valuable data, I think is what we tried to capture in our estimates. You know, I think, you know, I'll let Lauren sort of chime in a little bit.
Yeah, no, I was thinking another piece was the algorithm. I was curious, you know, how much that we did put in time in developing this algorithm that you're interested in and using in the future. So there's time in that and the training. So understanding maybe how useful that product would be for you, if it would be something that would, you know, help you make decisions in the long term, or if you'd still need to go through some type of study phase, even with that algorithm. So I think that's something we could kind of dive into a little further too. And
So the thought there, and you, now that you've done some homework, was that could be, and maybe we're dreaming, could be one of the most important outcomes of this.
Okay.
If it can be used to help us keep our finger on what parts of the system are performing in what way. At a high level, I know it's not exact, you know, it's not like putting a meter in there specifically to see what's going on, but I got to believe it's with the, you know, proper work and the proper creative thinking in terms of, you know, data analysis, and, you know, people are expert at that, not me, that we could get some good direction of where to go. Because right now where we are is, you know, we know where we were, or think we know where we were in 2011. We've done some work, which incrementally has said that, you know, that should save you this, that should save you this. No idea really if it's been realized. They're engineering estimates and they're based on models and don't know what we've realized. So we've done a lot of work since 2011. And I think we've taken care of one whole section of town, which was identified as the worst section. I really have nothing to confirm that.
Right.
You know, and instead of, you know, now the recommendation was, okay, we've done with that, now go over there. I'm just very nervous.
Okay.
You know, that isn't still in the worst section of town. So
Right.
if we can, so I tried to jot down, you tell me if we'll get this sort of high-level stuff answered. And it's what we've kind of based this on, but, you know, we have the starting point, which you guys have and can do that, and that, you know, I think is good. That was done very thoroughly, and I trust those numbers. So we had some starting point, I&I in town. And to tell you the truth, one of the things I'd like to come out of this is something that's digested to the point that it's easily understandable. You know, we have this big report. I don't know what the percentage of I&I was in 2011.
Okay.
All right, I'm being told now. Yeah, exactly. You had this, you know, is it your whole system? You know, I mean, the water district asked us that. Say, well, what's your I&I? You know, so, you know, having some high-level metric that the commission layman can, you know, can understand and deal with is very important. So, you know, where were we? We did this work. That work, which, you know, which isn't tons and tons, but it was significant, should have yielded something. So how much should have yielded? I don't know. We did 10, 12 things. I don't know what the total was, so I don't know what we even should be getting anymore. So if we look at that, then clearly the most important thing is where are we today, right? And
You had a
In knowing
lost
where we are
water issue
today-
too, right, that I recall we talked about, there's like a lost water issue, there's some gap in. or-
Well, yeah, we have, I mean, all we know today is that we've got what seems to be maybe some inconsistency between,
Water
we
usage.
monitor water going into the homes, we monitor the output meters, which, well, they're very accurate, and, we're getting INIs that go all over the place, from,
Right.
in some cases to a minus number. There's actually,
Yeah, right.
there's actually some of those that we're putting more, less water out than we're putting in.
Interesting.
So it makes me wonder about the
Where's it going?
data. Well, more
Yeah, the data.
validity than the numbers.
Yeah, right.
So, reconciling those is an important part. So that could tell us where we are today. And we've got, 2 years probably now of that kind of data
Great.
to
Yep.
look at. And then if we can then use the pump state, reconcile that. And maybe when we go do that, we'll find out, that the starting point, the work we changed, and today aren't aligning, and maybe there's something else we need to do. And that's understandable, And if we get something this complex, and you guys don't, come back and say, wait a minute, something isn't making sense. Even, we hadn't planned on doing this, but you might want to think about that, and maybe we don't have to do that anymore, We're gonna have to work together during this thing.
Right,
It's
and that's
clear.
pretty typical, is that as you start to delve into something that's a bit unknown, you have data and you have reports, but ultimately, I think what you're saying too is understanding what you did is great, but at the end of the day, we can go to history, using the data to establish where you are now and what the trend is going forward, and how to move forward is the most important thing.
Right.
Going backwards is just giving you history of, well, that maybe that yielded some value, maybe it didn't, but today the system is where it is today.
Right, so I
And
would
you
hope
wanna
a lot of
move
the effort
forward
isn't
in
in
it.
going backward, but going backwards is important, because you learn.
Well, the
right?
data is
And if all of
valuable.
a sudden what we learn is, when we think we fixed a manhole and we saved a lot and we didn't,
Right. Is that
how
the
am I not gonna
investment?
have that happen in the future? Because maybe I wasted my money fixing that manhole,
Right.
right? So I need to learn from the past, so I wanna do enough of the past,
Yep.
personally, to learn for the future.
Right.
But you're right, where we are today, and where we are today probably takes 2 years of data to
be able to
really,
to look at it.
to get reliable data, to get the trends, and,
Yep.
you're not gonna take a data point and say, this
Agreed.
is where we are today, I'm sure.
And I think there was the other concern that you had, and I know that having to do some of the modeling and the development of the spreadsheet for usage going forward, I think there was some concern that, perhaps at some point they may, there's some agreement changes for your disposal charges, or how they're gonna meter that, or how they might meter that, and that kind of thing. So I think that, that's also part of it, is getting all that data cleared up
Right.
will help you understand where the inconsistencies are, right,
Exactly.
based on your discharge
Exactly right,
to the wastewater treatment facilities at the two municipalities where they go.
exactly, yep.
So,
That's
yeah,
it.
I think the scope is one that's typically fluid. I think you have a framework for the scope, and you try to start with your initial data review and the GIS and that sort of thing, and then you can identify if you're saving money on the GIS side based on the quality of the data. You get a first blush, and I think we have an initial meeting fairly quickly, after the initial data review. That is also an opportunity to say, hey, okay, we have our arms wrapped around this now a little bit. Here's how this is looking. It might make some more sense we don't need to do this. Maybe we shuffle some of those hours to another place that's more valuable, or you can eliminate some, squeeze them, however makes most sense. We're happy to work along in the process to try to get to a place where we're maximizing the value of your investment in the program, because ultimately we also want to hone in on what you need to do, if anything, in the future. I know we talked a little bit about maybe what we find when you synchronize the data is that you have some I&I, but that it's not outside of the realm of expectation, and that you don't need to chase your tail around and spend a bunch of money, because the amount of investment it's going to take to try to remove that I&I is one that isn't worth spending.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
just as cheap to let that go to the wastewater treatment facility, and
We have a targeted area we want to really concentrate on to start, I think.
Well, I think The assumption always is,
No.
no, I don't think we do at this point.
That's okay.
And that's part of what this is. It's
So I think you attacked the
System.
area that
Yeah.
was the real problem initial
Right.
area, and now you're into peripheral areas. So is there one that is now the next priority, or are they all just a little bit in totality? They're all contributing a little bit, and are you gonna, what's the most economical way to chase that?
Right.
I mean, I think a lot of people are on the assumption that most of it's coming from the Whalum area, but,
Which is the area we attacked.
right, right.
And it's still coming from there.
But the majority of the output that goes to Leominster goes through the Dana Street pump station. And then there are also some, houses in the Whalum district that go directly to Leominster. It would be great to know what the difference is between those numbers are to see, because that would identify if the water is coming from
Right.
the Whalum district or not. I don't know
Yeah,
how easy it is to do that, but
I think it's pretty much in
think
here.
it's-
There's one more piece of data, and what you're probably going to, you're going to say, to John's point, we could really take a look at this area. We got the Dana Street pump station, we've got the outflow meter, and we've got these other houses in between. So we don't keep data at that level now, but we might have to go for these 5 streets and get the inflow data for those houses. So then to John's point, we should be able to tell pretty quickly what's going on in at least that area. But again, we need the pump station, and to me, that's going to be one of the challenges. And I looked at it over the weekend. The pump station data, you're probably going to have to work with small water pretty closely because it's kept in hours, but stuff happens, and all of a sudden the hours reset. And so there may be increments that are good data, and there may be increments that you just got to throw
And
out.
I think that's always the danger,
Yeah.
is that you have bad calibration on instruments, or your instruments are not calibrated well to start with, and or they're malfunctioning. And so you dive into the data, and you can spend a lot of time evaluating data, and only to find out that you don't reconcile that data, and it's because some instrument is really giving you bad data, and which instrument is it, and then you need to sort of go through that exercise.
Right.
So, that's always a challenge and a possibility.
So I mean, John, there are some areas, and that's a perfect one, John, where it probably could mine some great information pretty quickly. There's not a lot of, inputs into that little piece of the puzzle. But that's what we need on the whole, really need in the whole system. But starting there would be probably,
Right.
if John and I were doing the work, that probably would be one of the first things when we start looking at pump station and this other data. It'd probably be one of the first ones to look at. It's a nice little contained situation.
Yeah, that's-
And it tells a lot. As John said, most of this one pump station has everything except, I don't know.
Right. I mean, you don't have a really, really big system in
Right.
general.
right.
But I think, we're accustomed to taking the approach of looking at the areas and the sub-areas and through the GIS. I mean, the use of GIS is really standard in the industry now for the way to visualize and to get your arms wrapped around what those areas look like, and then jumping into the individual areas to be able to synchronize the data that you have in those areas. And if there are areas where you have limited data, then that takes a little more effort to generate some of that data. Right. So, and sometimes you need to employ other methods to get in there and get
Yeah, and that's where the communication is. They come back and say, well, we scratch the surface here, but
right.
we've got these issues, and either we figure out together how to address it, or we find a different path.
Which is why we tried to have a methodical approach to initially wrapping our brain around everything, and then walking into the next steps to get through your scope, and which ultimately ends with the generation of, and it may, that'll take a little work probably to get to the algorithm and what exactly does that look like relative to your billing, your billing software and how that all links together. So, and then I know we had a rate discussion, and I'm sure on TV you don't talk about rates, but at some point, you're changing sewer rates and that kind of thing. And so having that synchronized makes sense too.
Right. Any other questions?
No, I didn't have any questions. Yeah, no, I think it's,
But I think it's
good.
something,
I think we get going.
the way the agenda is written, we probably can't vote on it tonight, but
So, there's great debate over this. We're told by legal, you don't have to advertise a vote.
Okay, then.
As long as it's within the agenda item.
does someone make a motion to move forward with this?
I'd like to move that we issue a contract per the proposal.
Second.
No dates from within
Any
current.
more discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Let's get to work.
Great, yeah, look forward to it.
So the first step looks like a kickoff meeting.
Yes.
And when would you envision that?
We'll get some contractual stuff put together, and
Yeah.
we'll get together and schedule a meeting. We can do it outside of your normal meeting during the day or whenever at work.
I think a special meeting might be appropriate for that, right? Yeah.
So we can, and we'll get that set up.
Okay, great. And work with Barb on that?
Along something or
Yeah, we have a standard
the standard-
town, right, standard
just
town
attach the
contract.
scope and stuff
Right.
to it. Okay,
So I'll get you that.
Great.
perfect.
Good.
Thank you very
for
much.
coming in. Nice meeting you, Lauren.
Yes, nice to meet you. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Oh, I have a critical last question. I have a last question for you, though.
Right, we'll talk to you.
Just,
Thank you.
yeah, well, it has nothing to do with the contract.
Oh,
Because I've heard, and you may not choose to answer it, but for a system that's, we got a 20-year-old system here, what would be a reasonable target I&I for such a system?
As far as, we'll follow the DEP guidelines. Like, we use that as the target. If it's below that, the 4,000, I think it's gallons per day per inch mile, then we say that's golden, so.
That's
Yeah, I
an
think
important number,
it's-
4,000 gallons
4,000.
Yeah, per day per inch mile.
a day per, what's an inch mile, that unit?
It's, based on the diameter and then length
Diameter,
of
Oh,
pipe.
okay, yeah, to get you
So go that
to
way.
the area. Got it.
Yeah, so we calculate it
mile,
out
thank
that
you.
way.
Yeah, it's certainly not intuitive. You need to think
Yeah,
about
you
it
do.
a little bit.
Yeah. I'm a big
Like
units guy,
4,000
and that's why I was
gallons a
like,
day per
Yeah, it's-
inch mile. Like, it seems like a lot, or does it seem like a little?
yeah.
So those are not easy things to wrap your
An
brain
inch
around.
pipe that's a mile long.
Yes.
So we'll keep an eye out for that, and then we'll get it straightened out. We'll schedule a kickoff shortly.
Thank you very
Hey,
much.
thank you very much.
Thank
Have a good
you.
night.
Interesting,
I
good.
think so, yes.
Okay, our next appointment is Kathy Clark regarding 96 Oak Ave.
Yes, I'm just waiting for the homeowners. I think they'll be here in a minute.
Okay.
Yep,
And probably, we didn't take an official roll call,
there you go.
so.
I'm here, Ryan.
Ryan,
Carl Luck here.
John Reynolds.
Barb LaFave.
Okay.
I could start.
We can,
Sure.
Should I come up there?
Is there anything in the, I don't remember anything in the.
You have to sit in front of a
active
microphone.
yeah, I thought I had the bylaw, the betterment
comments. Yeah, the
bylaw.
betterment bylaw
Abatement
and the
law.
council
Right,
way back,
right.
but nothing from the,
No.
no request.
No, it's all
So we
verbal.
don't have any formal request.
Well, we talked about it did we talk about it? I talked with Ryan about it in a meeting.
It's not
anyway,
totally new.
Kathy
I
Smith.
just like, so there's no, I just want to make sure that there's no formal request or anything that,
Kathy Clark, 275 Cross Road, Lunenburg, representing the homeowners, Whitney and Mike Archambault of 96 Oak Ave, who should be here momentarily. When I first listed their home is presently under contract. When I first listed their home, I had pulled up the public record, which indicated it was a two-family property. Viewing the property and knowing the property as a single family, I questioned that. And in further discussion specific to the sewer, They indicated that when they first bought the property, it was a two-family, and then they converted it over to a single-family. They've owned the property since 1998, so it's been quite a while. And I had sold another property on that road, and I recall when sewer actually came down because we had an issue with that particular property. So it was like 2002, 2003, thereabouts. In any event, the betterment, I had questioned them about the betterment, and I guess the original principal on the betterment was $23,000, but that was based upon a two-family. They weren't aware that they've been paying for a two-family property up until the time that I made them aware of what the public record reflected. So all of these payments that they've made, which when I asked them about when it became a single family, it was 2009 to 10. There's plenty of information in the folder too, which reflects all their permits, work that's been done as a single family. So all of these years, they've been paying for a two-family.
Oh, no, we just got started. You're almost not late.
Just in summary, they've been paying that amount all these years, rolled into their taxes, with a remaining principal balance left of about $8,000, again, based upon a two-family property, and it's a single-family property.
Okay. So just to recheck the dates now that
Okay.
the owner's here.
Yes.
So it was purchased in 1998? Is that? Oh, good. And it was a two-family at that time?
Yes.
Okay. And then, I think you said 2009 or 10, it was converted to a one?
Right, 2009.
2009.
And then starting in 2010.
Okay.
Yeah, our boys get too big for downstairs, so we had to
Yeah. I know the feeling. Okay. I'm not, okay. Is there any other relevant information that that's
The betterments were assessed in 2008.
2008?
You agree with that? All the payments that has been made since the betterment was started.
So Barb, have we talked to council about what we can and can't do
Yes.
anyway?
Well, I had talked to them several years back on somewhat similar. It was a land division, and they were assessed at 5 units originally in 2008, and then went back, when they were finally developed or did the subdivision, they only had 4, so they wanted to get that unit forgiven. And council had said that it's a state law that it's a 6-month window. You can't do an abatement after 6 months unless it was in the courts for some reason and got delayed. So that was their impression then. I have the,
Those are
the
building
law
lots,
that
though.
relates it.
Those are just building lots, though. He thought he could build on 5 lots, and then he
Right.
went down, but he
But
only,
he's been assessed for 5, and he wants to be abated for 1. So it's the same, they've been assessed for 2, they want to be abated 1. And the time, the thought, what I had heard at that time was that a town has to take what they've assessed and understand that this is their debt moving forward. And you decide how much is reserved, how much is going to be collected. And so the law prevents people from coming all throughout those 20 years to say, I want to credit.
Understood, but there was intention in the beginning. There was a mistake in the beginning here, it seems.
Not if they were a two-family in
yeah.
2010.
Okay, no, you're right, Barb. So
yeah,
it
so it was-
starts off and then converts.
Yeah, so
But
this,
is information compiled from assessors when sewer betterments are determined too? Because when assessors are supposed to be updating records over the years, shouldn't it be consistent with what's reflected in terms of betterment? Or am I wrong?
No, the betterments, once they're established and that 6-month abatement period has
Okay.
passed, that it is pretty set in stone.
Okay, and I understood MGL, Mass General Law, to say that it's a 6-month window after the start of an original betterment, but not to be confused with what we have here, which is, you know, a change in betterment. I don't know, maybe I'm completely wrong.
Yeah, no.
Do you follow? Because it's,
I'm not aware of any
okay,
change in betterment law or anything.
it's just that the 6-month abatement only applies to original.
The original
The original
assessment.
abatement was assessed.
Right, and that original was 2008.
It just seems, you know, logical, and it seems unfair for someone to be assessed for a betterment for a two-family when it's been a single family.
But it is but it was a
It was a
two-family when it
two-family.
was bettered.
Right, but it's been quite a while, too.
But when it was bettered, it was, because this one to me is even cleaner than the, you know, gonna develop it, but then change my mind. Because nothing ever happened in between, and that wasn't allowed because of the state. This one was properly bettered, was properly assessed.
So if you buy a two-family and convert it to one family, you would still have to pay the two-family?
If that's what you were assessed, yeah.
You have
And you
6
know-
months.
I buy a one-family and then convert it to
And you
two-family.
have to pay another betterment.
Pay another betterment.
But isn't betterment determined on use, and if you only have a single family using a property as opposed to a two-family?
But it was two-family. There's a time when it's assessed. And this was assessed properly. I mean, it's not like this was a mistake at the time, it was assessed properly. Then there's 6 months to appeal it,
Originally. Right.
6 months from 2008
So if anything
to appeal it. But in
changes-
that 6 months, it sounds like, and it could be close, you'd have to know the dates, but that 6 months was still probably, I don't know, it doesn't matter, because it wasn't appealed within
So
the
this-
period. So what I'm being told, and I did read that council input, and we could recheck with council, but it was assessed properly. It wasn't appealed, which is probably not the right word. What's the right word?
So
Oh, it was
essentially.
appealed?
It does seem odd.
It does.
Like if you were to buy a two-family and then convert it to one, you just can't go and get relieved of some.
Yeah, but if
Well, the
too many people in town did that, then you are left, the town is left trying to make, they didn't plan on forgiving that 11.5 when they did all the assessments. So you accumulate those assessments, and it's on the sewer commission to figure out how to pay the debt.
So, I mean, and maybe, because the assessment process, you've got this $13 million bill, and you got to know how to spread it. So we hire professional people to come look at all of the units and determine how many there are, and then that's what you divide by, and when you divide it by that number, which included 2 here, it comes to $11,000. Now, if people can start jumping out, who's going to make up that $11,000? You can't go back to all the rest of the users and say, geez, somebody's converted from a 2 to 1, so now you have another $200 you got to pay. Because we don't have money, we just
Right,
have the
right.
money from the users.
So, if I understand this
You
correctly.
want to come up?
You want to come up to the...
Yeah, come on up and introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Mike Arsham. I'm the co-owner of the Hudson 96. So I just want to make sure that, so we had a 3-month window? Is it 3 months?
6 months.
6 months to notify that it was now a single
No,
family.
from when it was assessed,
From when it was assessed.
was September of '08. So you had 6 months, you had till March, I think, '09 to request an abatement.
Oh, no, it's still a two-family in '09.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right, exactly. So, okay. So we just missed that window.
Seems that
The way I understand it, I mean, and we can go back to legal and ask the same question again. I
Yeah.
don't think they're going to change.
With a higher, you have a higher betterment, obviously, with a two-family than you do with a single-family, and the intention is that there's going to be more use.
Right.
So obviously, as a single-family, there's not as much use, and so, the
I mean, I completely understand what you're saying.
Okay.
I'm sympathetic, but
right,
I think what we were being told with this other property is even if we wanted to reduce the assessment, Massachusetts law wouldn't allow us to do it. I mean, I don't have a problem going to council and ask them specifically about this property to see what they say. But,
I did verbally in our last council hours.
okay.
But it was, but I could get it in writing if we need it.
Well, I think, I agree with John. I don't hold much hope here because this looks pretty clean. I would say we certainly can go to council, but I wouldn't go to council without something in writing from the person who's asking, with whatever justification and what argument, because we're not going to argue the case,
Right.
To council. So if you want us to go to council, then, provide us with something that you feel justifies it and gets everything that, you think can sell the deal, and we'll take it to council. But short of that, I think our experience and our input is pretty clear that we wouldn't be able to abate it.
Is there a process? Is there how does that work? So we do convert it, and then it's just on us to notify that this is now a single-family unit. I mean, I'm trying to figure out the process
I
of
suspect-
that. Did we need to come to, so we should have come to,
I would hope, and I don't know, Barbie,
there a
I would hope
building
that when the betterments go out, that
Yeah.
you're notified about having a 6-month
Oh, yeah.
period,
No, I
right?
think he's talking about when you remodeled to make it a single family.
yes, yeah.
And if a building permit was done, it should have gone, the assessors get copied, and they would have probably scheduled another inspection. I don't know if they did. But it's really, it behooves you, if you're going from a 2 to a single, to go to your assessors, because the taxes would be.
Sure, I mean,
Reduced.
that's on us, yeah, absolutely. I just didn't know if there was some, like you said, maybe if something triggered that, or just,
Yeah.
let somebody know that this
Right.
is.
It should have, the
with a
building permit
Right,
should
and
have.
then somebody, because
Right.
we didn't, I mean,
It seems like the
obviously.
town should have known via the building department that if
Yeah.
2 families going to a 1 family and that your betterment's going to change.
No, the
Well,
betterment
betterment
was
wouldn't
not going to change.
Or you have 6 months, I know you missed it, but you do have 6 months to change this.
So that betterment
Yes.
automatically doesn't change?
No.
Excuse me.
No.
No,
Doesn't?
you need to
Okay, so it needs to go through the
request an
process.
abatement.
So even if we do get contacted by, so if we pull a permit, it goes to the building inspector, they even send us some sort of notification that, I don't know, something about the assessment or whatever it may be, so we still need to go through the process and let the town know, okay.
And
so
request,
it's
in this case,
automatic.
request an
Window.
abatement if the window's still open.
Within that 6-month window, right, of course,
And
assuming that
then
that
request an
6-month
abatement.
window is
Right.
met, yeah.
Now, the good news is, when the boys are off on their own, you can go back to a 2-family, and you don't have to pay another betterment.
I gotta put a new kitchen in again.
Oh, you should have left in the kitchen.
Yeah, right, I know.
Okay.
So,
All right, so do you think that you are going to go and compile some information to pass on to us so we can talk to council, or?
just put together a written statement,
yeah, I
just
don't
saying
think it
2010.
hurts to
There's
sort
no
of,
harm.
it's very
Pass it out.
good
Can't
for
hurt.
us to go through the process anyways. It's a good learning.
Right. Yeah,
For
we'll
us,
learn
you know,
too. Thank
Yeah,
you.
we'll learn too.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
good for us. It's healthy for us to be able to go do this. I mean, obviously it was on us to present it in the first place, so knowing what we know now, it's just a healthy exercise for us
yeah,
to go through and sort of continue that. So yeah, if that's okay, we'll probably,
Okay.
Yeah,
continue with
absolutely.
that.
That's why I suggested it, yeah.
okay, all right. Awesome. Good. All right,
Great.
well, thank
Thanks
you
for
all.
coming in.
Appreciate it.
Thank
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now, you may have missed the, sir, we have openings on the sewer commission.
You're moving though, right? You're moving.
Well, yeah, we think, I mean, we've been here for 22 years, so,
Wow.
yeah, so we're in the process.
Have a good night. Thank you.
See ya.
Keep working on that.
Okay. Public comment? Yes. Yes, absolutely. You know the routine.
My first rodeo. Dave Rogers, 82 Highland Street. I was at home, obviously, watching. And something transpired that I didn't understand, so that's why I'm here. The young lady and the young man that were here, I think they were engineers.
Yeah.
Okay, and they gave us, the town, a bid for what?
To evaluate the various testing we've done over the years for I&I.
Okay. All right. And how much is that going to cost us?
It was 40,000.
40,000? Okay. And Carl, you asked a very poignant question, which is why I'm right here. You asked, what are the standards for I&I? Okay. And what does that work out to be right today?
If you can tell me how many inch miles we have, I'll tell you.
So hold on just a minute.
You're a pipe guy, right? Yeah. Hold on just a minute. I don't know. I was.
Aaron, how many inches of pipe do we have? I don't know.
We need to do the calculation. But I intend to do it now.
My question is, and please don't misinterpret this because I'm not trying to be a wise guy, but why now are we asking if there is a standard the DEP has, and why are we now asking for a correlation between that standard and what we know to be the I&I? And if that's the case, then, why are we doing this if we don't have a problem? And how do we know we don't have a problem? Because we haven't got the figures from the DEP. Follow?
Sure.
Crazy question?
No,
not at all.
No, it's a good question, and we, many layers. We have been spending a lot of money on I&I.
Yep.
We think we've been making progress.
Yep.
We don't have any recent data that tells us where we stand today. We have some information from tracking. We've been tracking what water we put into the people's houses, which we bill on. Thank you very much.
Yep.
And what water we send to Leominster and Fitchburg.
Okay.
And we've looked at those two things every quarter for the last probably going on 8 quarters, right?
Mm-hmm.
We look and we're tracking those to see where we are. They're bouncing around, but to me they're too big. They go as much as 50%. That half of what we're sending out is not water put in the house. It's coming in some other way.
That's a reasonable analysis.
And independent of what the state number is, I mean, the state number is a nice benchmark, and it's all personal. It's a nice benchmark, but even if we're at the benchmark and we can cut it in half and save our customers money, and it pays back, then it's still worth doing. But I don't know what that benchmark is, so I don't know, sitting here, that 50% is reasonable or not for the age of our system, assuming it's 50, just using those numbers. So, 2 things. We need to know, we should know what it is. We should be able to crisply answer your question, what is the I&I? We can't. We need help and analysis and some work to do that.
How much are we being billed for versus how much is coming into the house? Billed for from Leominster for processing that which they're processing, and how much is being calibrated from the houses because they have water bills.
Well, I can tell you in Fitchburg, which is an easier thing because it's a smaller number. We're paying for what we send to Fitchburg, every gallon. And so if 50% of that is going in the houses, we're billing the houses on half of the gallons that we're paying to get processed. So if you could bring it to zero, you cut your cost in half. You can't bring it to zero, but
Say that again.
we pay Fitchburg for what we send to the pipe
Right,
connected to Fitchburg.
right. That's so many gallons.
And so many gallons.
Right.
Cubic yard, whatever.
Yep. Cubic yard.
And we bill our customers based on what goes in their house,
So sometimes
Right.
50% more
which
is
is what the
going
water
out.
department,
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so we take that and we bill what's going to the houses.
So,
And there's, in some quarters, there's a disconnect of 50%.
So
Some quarters, it's 10%.
so 50% more is being
Being
charged by
We're paying to
Fitchburg.
process
Yeah,
50% more.
more than what's yeah,
going in the
Okay,
houses.
that's what I thought I heard you. Now, is this analysis that this firm will be doing, is that for the whole system?
The whole system,
The whole system.
whole system.
So there's no way to isolate this vis-a-vis, you know?
Oh, no,
like-
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. One of the most important things, here's while you're driving over, one of the most important things that's going to come out of this is, we have 10 pump stations.
Yeah, right, yeah.
They're going to take the data we have, the runtime data, the water going in to the houses data, the water going out of the Fitchburg data, whatever. They're going to take all that data and they're going to give us an algorithm that says, how much effective I&I do we have in each of these 10 sections of town? That means the most important thing, because right now,
Right.
we're at the point where we need to start the next phase of I&I. We've done everything that was recommended back in 2011.
Okay.
And now we're about to start the next phase. Where do we go spend, and it's probably going to spend a couple $100,000 based on that decision over the next 3, 4, 5 years. We want to know which of those 10 quadrants
We have a problem with it.
do we have the biggest problem? So we can go solve the area with the biggest problem. That's what's going to come out of this study.
Okay. And we can tell, obviously, I think I'm going to answer my own question, but we can tell what's going to Leominster and what's going to Fitchburg. So if we,
Yeah, and we know which houses, and that's, we know which houses end up going to Leominster, we know which houses end up going to Fitchburg, we know which houses go into which pump station.
yep,
So we can
Section off.
we can have 10 areas that we can monitor, not just to tell where we're going, but that we can, going forward, monitor to see how we're doing.
Okay.
And if one area all of a sudden pops up, we can say, something happened in that area.
okay. The next question is, we do the survey and we get the numbers and everything. What's the next step?
It may be, normally, the state process is, the recommended process, which we did before, was, I forget which comes first, I think smoke testing comes first, and then you do house to house, and then you do, so, and that's why we don't want to, we've already done that to half the system.
Yeah.
We were being recommended that, okay, now let's go do it to the other half. Well, I don't know that we fixed the first half yet. So that's why we're looking at the whole town. So what comes next is, whether it be smoke test, videoing lines, hopefully something.
So notwithstanding what the state says, you have documentation that says, you know what, Dave? We're paying for sometimes 50% more than is coming in, right?
Right.
Okay, so that's fine, okay. All right. That's, so common sense tells me this is the tip of the iceberg. Because once we find out what the issue is, then we have to remediate it.
Right,
Right.
And ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching.
right.
Okay.
Yeah. I will
If
say.
we don't remediate it, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
It just, maybe a little airtime here, because one of the biggest sources we found, the first time we went around and we did smoke testing and maybe we found a couple things, then we did house to house.
Yeah.
And found a number of sump pumps. Sump pumps create a ton of water that didn't come from the pipe coming in the house.
Sure.
So.
And they're also, by the way, illegal.
And they're illegal, right. And that's why we did the house to houses, and we found a number of sump pumps.
Yeah.
So anybody out there with a sump pump that's connected to the sewer, please disconnect it, because it's costing
You
everybody
could
a lot of
legally go
money.
in the house? You could legally go in the house and do that?
Yes, sure. Yeah. Okay. as I said, I caught this later on, and did you have any kind of an announcement to make? You yourself personally here tonight?
Oh,
No.
it was a public comment.
Yeah, which was what?
It's coming up
I
next.
didn't make it yet.
Huh?
You,
Oh, you haven't?
that's it, yeah.
You haven't missed it.
Oh,
You
okay.
haven't
Well,
missed it
since
yet.
I-
It's really, it's
All right, that's fine.
It's
Thank you
nothing
very much.
earth-shattering.
I
Yeah.
appreciate the
Thank you.
input.
Thanks for coming, Dave.
All right.
Thanks, Dave.
Good evening. Matt Allison, Flat Hill. Two questions. Well, one issue, comment. So Fitchburg and Leominster both know to the gallon how much we pump to them?
Yeah, that's how they.
How do they know that? They have flow meters?
We have flow meters.
We do. Do we have one at each pump station?
No.
It's where they connect to Leominster, where they connect to Fitchburg.
Okay, so is there a reason we couldn't have one at each pump station?
I think that's what they're gonna do.
Well, I would say that would be pretty expensive.
But what we effectively do, we have a fairly inaccurate flow meter at each pump station because we've calibrated, we contracted engineering to calibrate the pump stations. So the runtime, I mean, they're constant pumps, right? So runtime equates to a certain number of gallons.
Okay.
So they've all been calibrated, and that's the data, and our operation company, Small Water, records regularly the runtime data from the pumps. So you take that runtime data, you can calculate a pretty, they thought it was 5% accurate. I don't know if I buy that, but if it was 20% accurate, I think it would be close enough to get us which section of town has given us the biggest problems.
Okay.
So we effectively do, but we have 3 pumps, 3 meters that
3
go.
meters. Yeah.
1 to Leominster and 2 to Fitchburg that are right at the town lines.
Right at the line, right. Well, I guess my recommendation would be that you have the meter at 10 pump stations. You had, what, 500 homes serviced approximately, something less?
800.
8:30. 8:30.
Okay, so there's like 60, on an average, 60 per pump.
No, a couple pumps have maybe a dozen.
Oh, sure, yeah,
Houses,
some
so-
pumps have more.
Yeah, some pumps are just,
Okay, that's neither here nor there. And earlier, I did have a point of order. When you've got a public meeting and you've got an agenda and you've got a time slot specified, you're really not supposed to take that appointment until that time comes around, and you started your 7:30 appointment at 7:23.
Okay, so noted.
Thank you.
Okay, current business.
comment.
Oh, sorry, Carl. Public comment
It's
from the
never again.
commission.
Oh, man.
Hard
This is,
fought.
and it's all your fault. No, my public comment is to build on what John had said earlier. There are currently 2 openings on the sewer commission. This is a very, very important commission. This is a business that this commission is chartered to run for the users. It's probably one of the potentially most rewarding commissions in town because you have some pretty direct control, influence, and you can really make a difference for the users. We've been working very hard, and we've managed to hold the rates for the last 5 years. It's getting tougher every year. We really need some people that want to come in and roll their sleeves up and really run this business as effectively as possible. Hopefully somebody that's on the system. Not that it's necessary. We've had great commissioners that are not on the system. But it would be good to get more voice of people that are actually users on the system and more sensitive to maybe some of the subtleties. So I really would encourage anyone who has any interest in this, who, and you don't need to know sewer or technology or whatever. We have engineering consultants, we have the DPW director, we have Barb, we have plenty of people to call on when we need technical expertise. What we more need is people that really want to run an effective business. And really do a good job at that. So please, we have 2 openings now, and we really need those filled. Right now, we're only going to have 3 members, so anyone's missing, we can't have a meeting, and we can't do your business. The talent bank form, the advertisement in the paper didn't mention talent bank form, and even though the talent bank form doesn't have a sewer commission block because it's an elected position, it's still used to apply for this job, so you just write sewer commission on the bottom, and please consider it. It's a very important job. And my last comment is, since John's last meeting will be next meeting, which won't be on TV, I want to thank John very much for joining the commission and all his hard work and his nice, steady, calm influence on the commission, and all of the homework he's done. Few people spend as much time doing the homework as John did, and you will be missed.
Thank you.
It's true. Yeah.
And I would just, if all 840 sewer users could take what Carl said to heart, and it is a small business. It has been fun. And our budget this year is how much, Barbara?
900,000.
900,000. So it's a small business. Interesting work. So I would encourage someone to step up. Dave?
No, he's stepping out.
Okay. Any other public comment? Okay. Current business. Gee, commission vacancies. My resignation is effective August 14th, so we need to take a vote to submit a notice of vacancy to the selectmen, if you so choose.
I would like to make a motion that we submit the opening to the selectmen for advertising and filling.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 I won't be here on the 13th, so
Oh, you won't?
hopefully Joan will.
You have to talk her into it. Yep, okay.
So Ryan, what are your days?
13th to the 27th, 26th. I should be here on the 27th.
Okay. All right, the next item is pump station maintenance and small water contract discussion. Did you two have a chance to read the latest version of the contract from Deborah? It went out today.
I did. I'm still confused by the numbers. Thank you for putting together a little spreadsheet, but I still don't quite. I thought I got it when I read the spreadsheet, but then I read the words, and they don't kind of tie out.
Yeah, I got it. I don't know. I agree. I had tried to change one section, and she changed it back, so I'm not sure.
Okay. So I think you saw the same disconnect that I did. But this is something we need to iron out pretty quickly. And I think part of it would include having a discussion with Jack about the contract, and perhaps Heather also. And it would be great if it could be done before I resign.
Yes.
So I don't know what everyone's time availability is next week. And do we need it to be a full meeting, or can we designate one or two people to? I mean, when I say a full meeting, Ryan, does it have? If 3 of us go, it has to be publicized. And,
Yeah.
So it might be better handled with just 2.
I mean, I'll go and see him. I know he's on vacation this week or next week?
This week.
This week he's gone?
Jack.
Jack's
Yeah,
gone this week.
Okay. So maybe next Monday or Tuesday. No, he's going to be swamped probably Monday.
Yeah, I won't be around Monday.
Should we ask him? Just to see when he's available.
Yeah, good.
I don't know what's going to be.
We could find a time for you guys, and then at least start there, maybe.
Well, I'd like to make sure we have the items of discussion clear. because this contract and, the dollar value and, where's the, I think is a very short discussion, quite frankly. It's just clarifying where the heck is the, the meter readings, what's, tying out the dollars. I don't think that's a big deal.
No.
I think what's a big deal is, as I expressed at a prior meeting, after looking at the monthly reports, I was very concerned. It was clear from those reports that the reliability of the system has gotten significantly worse than at least it was 2 years ago. And, we had agreed to change the reporting and then lost the thread, and I didn't, see the monthly reports, so I don't know. I've seen the last 6 months' monthly reports, and I'm horrified, quite frankly, at the amount of call-outs that had gone almost to zero shortly after Small Water took over. And now there's alarms almost every day. So I was concerned when I saw the monthly reports. Then we got, thank you, Barb, the invoices, which we had questions on, and we knew there was, a lot of discussion going on. And, my horror turned even worse for two reasons. One, I think we're paying for things that are included in the contract. We spent only in 2 months, May and June, we spent $15,000 in labor at Small Water. When I look at the invoices, which are wonderful in terms of their level of detail. There's more detail in the invoices than there is in the reports. So if they keep doing the invoices like that, then I don't know if we need reports, because two reasons. One is there's a lot more detail in the invoice, and two, not even every event in the invoice is in the report. There are call-outs and there are repairs and there's work going on in the invoices that they want paid, that I believe are included in the contract, that are not even mentioned in the reports. And I went through, I spent a lot of time going through them and checking them off and saying, so we have a very serious problem, and that's the one that needs to get discussed with Heather and Jack and whoever, but certainly with Heather, because, and this
Who does the report?
commission.
Small Water.
Oh, okay, so they take the invoices, make a report.
They seem to, but they don't pick up every
Right,
item
okay.
or have the same level of detail. I mean, I'm impressed with the level of detail in the invoices, so if we want to feed something back to Small Water, that's impressive. But our contract was for Small Water to maintain our system, to keep our system running. And they have now gone, at least in those 2 months, and I don't know how long this has been going on, and I'd like to get copies of the invoices for the last 2 years, because at some point they changed their billing. And they now essentially are billing us every time they get an alarm. And that's what we're paying for in the contract.
Right.
So I'm sure of the 15,000, I'm sure there is some excessive labor and some things that, had they come to us as they're supposed to per the contract and discussed it, we would have said yes. That, that's above and beyond, and we would pay. But nowhere's near $15,000. Of that whole $15,000 of billing, and the discussions that were had, with Small Water to push back, it was $700 removed, and there probably should have been more like $10,000 removed. And so I think the very first discussion that's important is not Small Water, the Sewer Commission and Operations and Business Manager need to get on the same page in terms of what are we paying for in the contract, what is the contract, and when is Small Water able to bill us outside of the contract for keeping our pumps running. Because that's all they're doing. They're coming in, and in some cases they're coming in and they're fixing something that they fixed 2 days before. It's horrific. I'm taken aback. So that's the discussion we have to have. Why are we spending $15,000 outside the contract when we're paying them $100,000 to do the work that is primarily they're now charging us for, again. So the discussion we need to have, and you can't have a high-level discussion on this. You need to look at the detail and say, but we need the high-level discussion we have to have that we had back when we issued this contract, and there was a lot of debate at the time, even with small water, that we're contracting them to keep the pump stations running. And that when they have to come in and maintain them, fix them, within reason, that's included in the contract.
Okay. Look, I agree with the discussion that needs to take place, because, I mean, that's the crux of the issue. Now, how to go about it.
Yes, there you go. Thank you.
So I think this should be a separate meeting, not a regularly scheduled sewer commission meeting. Or I'm calling it a meeting, but can it be handled with 2 commissioners meeting with Heather and Jack? Or do you think it would be better to have a quorum and make it an official meeting?
I would suggest we try to do that, so that, that the commission is represented. If we have to fall back to something short of that, then to get the job done. But until we reconcile this, I don't think we can sign a contract.
And going back to my original question, what is your availability next week?
Next week, I think I'm pretty available.
I think.
I'll be in Vermont on Monday. But Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
I could do it Tuesday or Wednesday.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I
Evening,
could do
during the
one.
day, or what?
After 1:30.
After 1:30? Oh, great, okay.
Okay.
Because that way we, both, hopefully Heather and Jack and Barb and everybody could be involved without staying too late.
And your availability, Barb?
I'm there, I'm here.
Okay.
So should we try Tuesday and then we'll work down the week?
I can get here for 2:30.
2?
Yeah.
Okay.
Somewhere along there.
2 is better, I know, for Jack usually. So I'll try for that, and it's also with Heather.
At DPW? At the DPW?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so. So we'll try for that.
I think it's
And see
important to
what
have Heather
Yeah.
there.
Okay. I'll do what I can.
Oh, we can't have 3.
And basically,
And I think I'd post it anyway, just
Oh,
because.
yeah. We can have 3. Yeah, if you post it, we can have 3.
Right.
and pretty much the single agenda item is what is covered.
Clarification.
Discussion about what's covered by the contract
Contract clarification.
and what and when can small water bill outside the contract. I think that's pretty much encompasses everything. Okay?
Okay.
Any other discussion on that?
The only other item I'd like to just add there is the invoices, because they're all linked.
Right,
but
it's
just-
all linked, so.
It's all linked,
just
but so the word is
specifically
there.
put the invoice,
Invoice
the word invoice on
process.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, excellent.
Okay. Next item is Leominster billing methodology change. We've already touched upon this tonight a little bit. I had this added because I would like the commission to, select a liaison to interact with Leominster. To talk about potential rate changes. And Barbara also got a letter today about some debt service that apparently Leominster says we owe them.
Not even a letter. It was another phone call.
A phone call, okay.
Verbal.
Barbara sent off a letter to Roger and asked for some clarification.
I sent an email.
An email, okay.
Yeah.
And asked for some clarification. So it would be good if we could have someone that could interact with them, so it doesn't have to be, we don't have to wait
pass a new
meeting to
bill.
meeting to. But can you shed any more light on the conversation, Barbara?
On the most recent one?
Right.
Yeah, he was He was referencing their capital improvement section of the IMAs and said that there'd be a invoice coming for 15 or 20,000. And I kind of went, huh?
What?
And as far as I know, Jack's not in this week, he's on vacation. I have no idea if Jack has already had this conversation, but it was a surprise to me. So I responded just saying, you know what this does to a budget that was already approved. So it's, it's a section, it's valid, there's no question that we would pay it. It's part of the IMA, but
I think we need to
we just need
understand a little more
information.
about it.
Right, that's all.
Yep.
So, just gathering more information.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'm, as you know, I've worked quite a bit on the IMA with Fitchburg, and I'd like to volunteer to be that interface on, because this is going to be an IMA change, I'm sure.
Right. If you're volunteering, Carl?
I am,
Okay.
if it's the pleasure of the commission.
It is. I don't think that's something we need to vote on.
No.
Well, let's, just because.
let's.
Well, let's. Well,
Ryan, you
just
wanna make a
because
motion?
of
I'll
what
make a-
has happened in the past,
Have
it's
Carl
easier
be
to.
our-
I'll make a motion to have Carl Luck be our liaison to Leominster for the IMA,
IMA's discussions.
the IMA discussions.
I'll second that. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay.
thanks.
Irrigation meter program. Barbara, you want to?
Yes, it's an update only. I've contacted TI Sales, and they're going to be sending information. They're very happy to hear. They would be the point of contact.
Good.
So he'll get me what I can hand out to people and phone numbers and whatever. And I'm working hard to get working on the bills and doing that meter import. So I think I will do a separate mailing just to the irrigation meter customers first to advise, and then we'll get it out in our inserts with the bills
So-
to say that it's available.
Yep, that works.
Okay.
Good, nice, thanks, sir.
Any questions on that?
No.
Okay. Grease trap interceptor program?
Just that the letters went out, and they are due back by August 15th, and it's just a reminder that that's going on. I've had some response already.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what was the date of the due date?
They're due August 15th.
15th. Thank you.
The day after my retirement.
Yeah, is that your planning, John?
Okay, the minutes for
Wait,
7/9.
Sorry, there was more under that.
Oh,
The fog
oh,
audit.
the fog
I
audit,
didn't know if
sorry.
there was any updates on that. I had sent the copy of the letter
No.
to all of the commission. I didn't know if there was any update.
Yeah, no, I haven't, I got the letter, thank you very much. It's excellent letter.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I'm happy I got it, 'cause really, very well done. So now we know what they're thinking. The reason I asked for the due date was, given where we are, I might wait until we get those.
Right.
So that we have the application and the
Okay.
schematics, and
Right.
so we could do
Okay.
so
I'll say after
start
that.
scheduling stuff after the 15th.
Right.
Probably after the 26th.
Yeah, yeah.
Might be back to 24th.
Oh, that's right, because Ryan was going to go with you on some of those, right?
Exactly.
Okay. First Tuesday reports?
All in, all
All received.
received. Yep,
Nice.
yep.
It's pretty consistent now.
They're getting there. We got it.
It's been 3 years.
Just.
Okay, the minutes from 7/9. I have not read those yet. I don't know.
I skimmed them.
I did look at them, they look pretty good to me, but
Okay. I mean, those are current enough that if we could postpone that to the next meeting?
I think so,
Sure.
yeah.
Okay. Business manager report? That would be you, Barb.
I haven't heard any more. I do know that Wright Pierce is trying to set up the tours for the pump stations with Swiss for the maintenance plan. but I will update them with your schedule, Ryan, because I know you wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah.
I did receive a schematic on 400 Electric that we asked for. This is the big convenience store donut shop. You had asked about the connections for the grease trap. So I have it, it's at the, actually, I did receive it electronically, so if you want, I can send it out. But it's not an engineered plan, it's a PDF of drawing. If we had one from everybody, it would be lovely. And then our council from Mead Tollerman is now conversing with Jeff in Fitchburg just to get clarification on the debt service schedule that he provided. Because Brian went to communicate with I don't want to say too much, but Highfield's opposing counsel, and it was not clear. So we need more clarification. And Brian's working with Jeff.
Okay.
And there'll be more. I'll hopefully have an executive session for the next meeting.
Well, there's progress.
Get somewhere. And then the last thing is my invoices. And I just have one for Fitchburg for review for 11/809/33.
This is the one that just requires my signature.
Yeah, just an initial.
You want to look at it before I initial it?
I know the number, 11809.
It's for Fitchburg, 11/809/33. Monthly. That's all I got.
Okay. Any input for future agenda items? For future meetings?
I think we already talked about putting the Elizabeth Street
Yes.
on one of them. I don't know where we picked a meeting. I know we said not tonight, but I don't know when I don't know if we picked tonight. Next meeting might,
What's Joan's, is Joan coming back in August?
no,
True.
end of September.
End of September.
End of September. So
meeting.
you're leaving,
Yeah, I'm gone.
so you won't be here for that.
It'll
So
be
unless Joan agrees to come,
Yeah,
there may not be an August
Okay, man.
15th meeting,
maybe she can be persuaded.
if she can. She's a little busy.
I'll call her.
Okay.
Unless you're out there watching right now, Joan.
Call John.
I'm sure she's tuned in.
Anything else for future
Probably is.
agenda items?
Mm-mm.
No? Okay. And I guess if someone, well, I guess we do have public comment again.
Oh, we do.
Any public comment from the commission?
No.
No.
Then do I hear a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night, Lunenburg. Well done, John.
Very good.
We're all, okay, good.
Go.
That?